Good morning, everybody out there. Hope you're having a wonderful Thursday so far. My name is Andy Ferguson, and sitting next to me is Pastor Jeff Waterman.
Good morning, Andy. How are you doing today?
Good morning. Wonderful. Everything is good. Yeah. Here we are at episode 69 of the Overflow podcast.
Yeah, great. We've been doing this more than a year now.
Yeah, I like
it.
It's been a lot of fun. Yeah, a lot of growth, and I did actually get a chance to go back and see some of the first episodes, and we were sitting on the other side of this room and in some very deep chairs. We didn't have these microphones. I think I had my laptop on a table or something. So we've grown and changed a lot. We've been built up.
There you go. We've been built up like stones into a house.
There we go. Yes, exactly. We're overflowing from our previous Sunday sermon, and this particular episode or particular sermon that we were overflowing from right now is from 1 Peter chapter 2, 1 through 10, living stones and a holy people being built up. And we're going to be talking about that.
Yeah, being rooted in community.
Absolutely. Rooted in the sense of built together into a holy priesthood. Yeah. Community, I should have said in the sense of that. But rooted in community and then ready to stand next week.
Yeah, that's coming up Sunday.
Yep.
That's fun language, the Satan prowling like a lion ready to devour. That's exciting.
Yeah, so that's from chapter 5 of 1 Peter. So we'll be looking into that this coming weekend. But yeah, so this past May 31st was Sunday, and like I said earlier, hanging out in 1 Peter, where we've jumped around, and now we're in chapter 2. So this was chapter 2, verses 1 through 10. And you said that this particular section of Scripture presents 3 questions that we must answer to be rooted in community. 3 things that we have questions to ask. What are we craving? What are we seeing? And what do we do?
Right. Yeah, I think it starts off this way and says, crave spiritual milk. Like a newborn infant craves milk. You too should crave spiritual milk. And I know you've done a little bit of diving into that concept.
Yeah.
And so what'd you find?
Okay, absolutely. So, I just think it's so interesting, this idea of hunger, to crave spiritual milk like that of an infant, a newborn infant. And I loved the language that you used on Sunday where, man, if a baby is hungry, they will even wake you up at 2:00 in the morning for that kind of food. And sure enough, I've got a 4-year-old now. He was super colicky as a baby, and it was like every 45 minutes he'd be crying for something, right? Yeah. And yes, most often it was food. And so, what do you crave like a baby? And what wakes you up in the morning? And what is it that we talked a number of episodes ago about, like, if you're just sitting by yourself, what's the first thing that comes to your mind? What is it that you're wanting to do when you're at work or driving in the car? What are you waiting to do? What are you craving? Which is important. So this spiritual milk, it's the Greek word for that, and what I've come, as you asked so nicely, is the word logikos, Logikos. And I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. It's all Greek to me. Hey, I got to say it. But this logikos or logikos is similar to that word logos, Logos. In other words, the spiritual milk that is talked about here is the word. And that's actually spoken of earlier, where it says in 1 Peter 1, verse 22, having purified your souls by your obedience to the truth being like the word. And then later on, since you have been born again, not of perishable seed, but of imperishable, through the living and abiding word of God. And so it says, so then put away malice and deceit in these things. Long for the pure spiritual milk, long for the word, long for the truth. And it's so that you may grow up into, we're going to talk about the things.
Yeah. We said on Sunday, do we long for the creator or the created?
Yeah.
Right? And what are we longing for the things that God has put in place for us that we can go get, right? Or are we going to long for the things that come natural to our flesh? Do we long for the truth of the word? Do we long for the truth of my opinion? Do we long for the instruction and the correction of the word? Or do we long for the freedom to do whatever the heck I want to do, right?
Right.
What is that we really crave? And I think a lot of times when we look at Christianity, when we look at human expression of faith, that is a big battle, because I'll be honest with you, there's a lot of things that I crave that probably aren't things of the creator. They're more things of the created.
Yeah. If it was natural to long for the things of the Creator, then we wouldn't need all these commands like, hey, abstain from the things of the flesh, put away the things of your former ignorance. The time for those things has passed.
For sure. I think of the word put away that you just used. And like you said, you've got a 4-year-old. And I remember having kids, and they were all into getting the toys out.
Yeah. Yeah. Try to get them to put it away.
Hey, put the toys away. That's the work,
Right.
Because it's a lot of fun to take the toys out.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun to have the fun of the world around us. And not that those are bad, but maybe sometimes we've got to do the hard work to put away.
Yep. Bless you.
You're gonna have to take that
Almost.
out.
Yeah.
Almost.
But yeah, the thing with hunger though, so the command, like you're saying, if I was saying, I guess, if it's natural to do so, we wouldn't have the command to do so. It would just come naturally to us. But the command is to long for these things, long for the word, like spiritual, or like a newborn infant, right? And hunger, I think, is so interesting because I find that the more that I snack on certain foods, I love spicy barbecue chips. I'm just going to
There
throw
you
that
go.
out there. I
Okay.
love anything spicy
All right.
barbecue. If it's wings, ribs, meat,
All right.
spicy barbecue.
So what's your favorite sauce at Buffalo Wild Wings?
I've not been there in so many years,
Okay.
but
All
if it's spicy barbecue, I'm all about it.
There you go. All right.
So yeah, but anyways, like there's that show called Hot Ones. They have some really nice spicy. Anyway, but the more that I eat chips that are spicy barbecue or foods that are spicy barbecue, I want more of it, and it's like I actually hunger for it more. And the thing is, if I stop eating those snacks or those kinds of foods for quite a bit of time, I'll become less hungry for them. Like
Sure.
maybe less of a habitual thing, perhaps. And it correlates with the Bible. It's proven that the more that you actually practice this discipline of reading the Bible, the more you're actually going to hunger for it, the more you're actually going to be fulfilled by it.
Right.
You're going to crave it.
Yeah.
You hear that all the time. And I assume a lot of people out there, you're hearing a lot of people saying, oh, I love reading the word. I crave to read the word. And then you feel in yourself this conviction, I don't really crave reading the word. What am I doing?
Right.
You're not reading the word.
Right.
Like read it, and then you're going to crave it.
Sure. Yeah. You want more. It begins to fill you. It begins to nourish you. I think of the word crave, and we talked a little bit about what Kathy craved as a pregnant mom back when she was pregnant with David. But it's kind of interesting because I'm not a big lover of vegetables, right? That's like I would rather have meat and potatoes. But there'll be times where like I need vegetables. Like I need a salad. Like I just need some of that because obviously my body's needing that or whatever, and I'm feeling like run down or whatever. But yeah, there are times where your body says, "Hey, this is what you need," and then all of a sudden that craving takes over, and it becomes an obsession.
Yeah.
It was. It's funny. We've taken kids on mission trips. And so we take them to foreign countries, and all the food is of that ethnic culture, right?
Yeah.
And teenagers are funny. They'll be like, all I want is Pizza Hut, or all I want is McDonald's. Like, of all the things to crave, you want to crave that, right? But when it's part of when you're used to eating it, when you're used to consuming that, whether it's vegetables on a regular basis or maybe, Americanized fast food, and then you don't get it for a while, your body craves it and you want it more and more and more.
Yeah.
And so to your point, if we make a regular diet of reading and absorbing the word, then our spirit is going to crave that more and more and more.
Yeah, the distinction of hunger between the flesh and the spirit is also very intriguing to me because, again, let's say hunger in the flesh, right? You eat and then eventually you're full and then you're not hungry at least for the next 25 minutes, right? But with
10 minutes if you eat Chinese food.
Right, exactly. Yeah, you eat carbs, you want more carbs, right? But the thing is though, spiritually, so the flesh is opposed to the spirit, and hunger works differently where if you don't eat the word, you actually become less hungry for it, and then eventually you don't even desire it or you don't even think about it, and it has that really it's an opposed effect where the hungrier you get like for the word, the less actually you desire to fulfill it, which is so strange and unfortunate because you want to say if you go a time away from reading the word, you would love for the case to be that you get hungrier and hungrier for it,
Right.
but we just don't find that to be.
Right. You get, well, because what happens, right, is you start filling your life with other stuff.
Yeah.
Right. Because when it says put away the malice, put away the deceit, put away all
Hypocrisy and
hypocrisy and
envy.
all that stuff, we start living into that. Right. And that can be self-fulfilling. You start envying, and while the way to fill that envy is to go get that thing that I'm envious about.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow, so-and-so bought a new car. I really want that. So now that becomes the object of my obsession, and now
Yeah.
I want that. Paul, he writes, I have found the secret of contentment,
Yeah.
right? And so, which contentment I would suggest is the opposite of envy. If I'm content, I'm
Mm-hmm.
really not worried about what everybody else has, right? I'm
Yeah.
content. So what was his, or what was the secret of being content? And that is living in the fullness of the relationship with the Lord, right?
Yeah.
Feeding on the Word, feeding on His Spirit, and all of that. So if you're always looking around and you're comparing yourself to everybody else, and you're always envious, you're always mad at people because they've offended you, the secret to putting that out is not push into that. The secret is to feed on a Word, to
Abide.
let God feed you instead of the things of the world.
Yeah, that's the one aspect of heaven that is so alien to us as humanity, is we're always craving something. We're always hungering for something. We're always discontent and wanting the next thing. It's like bread. It is actually bred into us
Right.
as we develop and grow. And in heaven, there's going to be peace for the first time ever,
Right.
like actual perfect content peace. Like, oh, it's going to be wonderful.
Yeah, it's funny. There's this doctrine of original sin that's
Okay.
out there, and I've had some conversations with people, and some people are like, I don't buy original sin. Like there's a newborn infant, day one. Do they have original sin? I'm like, like, well, they haven't done anything yet. They don't need to, because it's like you said, it's hardwired into us now. It's been passed down from generation to generation, from parent to kid, and all of that stuff. Kids don't have to be taught to envy.
Right.
Just put two kids in and see one kid playing with a toy,
Yep.
and another kid wants a toy. What does the kid that wants the toy does?
Grab
He
it.
grabs it.
Yep.
You have to teach the kid not to grab it. Did you ever have to teach the kid to grab it?
Nope.
No. And that happens like really incredibly early on.
Yeah.
So this idea that you bring up, that that we're kind of hardwired to do this. It's just what's in us is, it's that original sin, that sin nature that flows through all humans. And it'll be really fun to see what heaven is like when that is absolutely no longer part of the equation.
Absolutely. There was a phrase that you said on Sunday, and we're talking about fulfillment by saying this, right? If you were fully content, fully fulfilled, then you wouldn't be hungering or craving for those other things, like the other person's toy, for example. The phrase you said was, a fulfilling community hungers for fulfilling food. And as we do hunger to be fulfilled, what we actually find that source of true fulfillment in is the vine, right?
Right.
That's what produces, that's what nourishes and sustains us in the fulfilling way.
Yeah. And that's the power of community, being rooted in community, right? Is if the community is craving spiritual milk, if the community is craving this word, you are going to be more apt to go along with what the community has. I mean, just if you're a musician, and what do musicians do? They go find other musicians and they hang out with it. And then all of a sudden it's inspirational.
Yeah.
If it's a heavy, hey, music creation, songwriting or whatever, you're inspired to write more songs. And
Yeah.
all, because that's part of what's going on. If you're a community, if you get involved, I remember back when I was doing water skiing at a higher level than I do now, I got connected with a bunch of guys, and all of a sudden I'm going to do different things to improve my water skiing ability and all of that. The community that you involve yourself in, whatever they crave, you tend to start to crave. So if you want to experience God, His presence in your life, and you want to experience that contentment that He has, put yourself in a community that craves spiritual milk, and then you too will begin to crave it.
Yeah, that's really good. Yeah, you become like the 7 closest people to you, right? You've heard that
Right,
phrase before.
absolutely.
And so that's important then, to be built up like a spiritual house. And this is something that I think you wanted to dive a little further into on Sunday.
Yeah, I referenced going to Dominican Republic, and I had some fun with talking about the heat down there and the idea of what a stumbling block is
Yeah.
and stumbling over. But one of the things that I always felt, he says here that you're being built up. Um, as you come to him, a living stone, rejected by men in the sight of God, chosen and precious. You yourselves are like living stones, are being built up as a spiritual house. When we get to the work site, there would be concrete blocks, and they would just be in these piles, right?
Mm-hmm.
They were just piles. They weren't. They didn't do anything for any. They weren't useful. They weren't effective. They weren't anything, right?
Yeah.
So then we come in, and this is also the talk of the cornerstone. This whole masonry idea that comes out of Isaiah and comes out of Psalm 118. Peter's really bringing us back into the Old Testament and pulling this idea forward, and that is the cornerstone is what sets everything. Like if in Old Testament, in an ancient building, you'd set the cornerstone, and then the whole structure be set from there. That's where you get how level it is. So when we would have the maestro when we were on mission trip, we'd have a guy that we actually hired that knew what he was doing.
That's important. Yeah.
And then we all learned real quick that we had no idea what we were doing. But through his guidance, we were able, and through him setting the pattern, we that didn't know what we were doing, we were able to actually build a structure.
That's cool.
And so he would set the corner, and then we would take string and go from corner to corner, and that would tell us how far out we should go, how far up we should go. It would keep us level. And by the end of the week, we took all these blocks that were just piled, and we assembled them according to the cornerstone, according to the level and the angle that you're supposed to be. And by the end of 2 weeks, we built a bunch of high school kids from Michigan that knew nothing about building a thing. We built a church.
That's incredible. That really is incredible.
It was being built up. And the idea is these stones, these block by themselves, they're just a pile of block.
Right.
It's not until the builder that knows what he's doing comes together and places them where they need to be placed.
Yeah.
Now think about now we're the stones, right? We are the living stones. Who's the builder? Well, Christ is the builder.
Right.
God's the builder. And he's going to place us along with other people in our community in the right spot, in the right place, at the right time, at the right level, da-da-da. And then when that happens, now a structure that's useful. Now a congregation of people can go into that church. They can hear teaching. They can be sheltered from the elements. They can do recreational things. They could do fellowship things. Now that building, all those blocks have purpose, and all those blocks are serving the community at large.
That's so good. Yes, the builder takes each of us and aligns us to the cornerstone, Jesus himself. And there's a lot of Genesis type language in what you were just saying as well, because God did the same thing with the forming of the earth. It was formless and chaotic, or the chaos right in the deep. And he formed it and he arranged it, and he's the builder and he's the creator. He does it in such a way. He's the architect.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that is so cool. Well, thank you for sharing all that then that you wanted to speak of. Was there something more you wanted to say on the living stone, that phrase itself?
Well, that phrase is rooted in Psalm 118 and in Isaiah 28. It's kind of cool. Let's, if I go back to Psalm 118, you'll hear this phraseology come out. And just the roots of this, I find it. We in modern, and we were even having a conversation earlier, like you hear people go, the Old Testament God, I don't like that Old Testament God. He seems
Right.
angry at everybody, right? Because I think we were talking about the fear of the Lord and whatnot. And how serious he is about sin. And I love the fact that we as modern Christians, we tend to live in the New Testament, and that's where we like. But the New Testament writers, God through them was very intentional about linking back to the Old Testament. That it's not like, all right, this is how it used to be, and so you can forget all that and just move on. No,
Right.
what you're dealing with is rooted, to use our phrase,
Very
is
good.
rooted in the Old Testament. And so Psalm 118, verse 22 says, the stone that the builders rejected has become the cornerstone. So Peter's picking up on that language, talking about this cornerstone that was rejected. And of course, we know who the builders were that rejected it.
Right.
And then again in Isaiah chapter 28.
The Pharisees, by the way, if just for those who are like, what are they talking about? The builders? Yes, the Pharisees were the ones that rejected the cornerstone.
Correct.
Yeah.
Very good. Good clarification. And then in Isaiah 28, it's actually called a cornerstone in Zion. It says, therefore, hear the word of the Lord. There you go. Right?
Hey.
You scoffers who rule this people in Jerusalem, the Pharisees,
Yep.
right? Because you have said, we have made a covenant with the death, and with Sheol we have an agreement. When the overwhelming whip passes through, it will not come to us, for we have made lives of refuge. Therefore, says the Lord, behold, I am the one who has laid a foundation in Zion, a stone, a tested stone, a precious cornerstone of a sure foundation. So you see this idea that this isn't just something that Peter comes up with. This is rooted in what God is saying to the people of Israel back in the Old Testament to say, look, this is how you're going to know this is the Messiah. So people that talk about Jesus, like, is he the Messiah? Is he not the Messiah? Should we, if you accept the Old Testament as giving a picture of what the Messiah is, now you start applying it to what they experienced, and people are like, yeah, exactly. This is who he is.
It's so true. Unless you have scales over your eyes, you can't miss it. I mean, with Isaiah 53 and other servant of the Lord passages and all of that's Isaiah hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years before Jesus was born into this earth, prophesying. There's so many prophecies that speak of Jesus himself and all the exact things that he did and fulfilling all the ways that he fulfilled prophecy. You can't miss it unless you don't have ears to hear it or eyes to see it.
Exactly. And then in Acts 4:10, Peter and John are before the council, and he says this, let it be known to all of you and to all the people of Israel that by the name of Jesus Christ of Nazareth, whom you crucified, he had to clarify that, and I'm sure they loved it,
Right.
whom God raised from the dead, by him this man is standing before you. This Jesus is the stone that was rejected by you, the builders, which has become the cornerstone.
Yeah.
So Peter defines Psalm 118, this is the stone that the builders rejected.
Yeah.
Peter says, y'all that crucified him, you're the builders that rejected this stone.
Ooh, must have been very difficult for them to receive, and also, well, actually they were cut to the heart by him saying all these things anyways, and many of them ended up turning eventually.
And this is, you gotta love Peter, right? Because just a few months before that, he's denying Christ.
Yeah. He's
hiding out, trying to, like, what's going to happen to me? And now he's going to the very people that killed Jesus. He's like,
right.
It's such a proof or such evidence of Christ's resurrection from the dead. Because what explains Peter's change of personality? What explains his change in boldness? Right? He's always been rash. He's always been leap first, think second kind of a guy.
Yeah.
But the boldness that he has in the face of opposition, something changed. And then his ability to recall Old Testament truths and link it to Jesus. What took place?
Right. Yeah, so that is one of the evidences of the actual resurrection of Jesus, that if you guys wanted to do case for Christ and all those things, this is one of those evidences right there. I'm going to double down on your Peter referencing Old Testament things being rooted in the Old Testament for this, because in this chapter 2, when he says things like, as newborn infants, long for the pure spiritual milk, that by it you may grow up into salvation, if indeed you have tasted that the Lord is good. And there's other language here as well. He's referencing Psalm 34, taste and see that the Lord is
Right.
good, right? And let us exalt his name together. And all of this, in fact, many of the verses that Peter uses in First Peter is coming from, he was probably meditating on Psalm 34 while he was writing this, or before writing this, because it's all about those who are persecuted. And David, during Psalm 34, was being persecuted. All of those who are trusting in the Lord, being protected by the Lord, and being blessed by the Lord going through suffering in a righteous sense.
Yeah, and so this is all underneath the idea of, so what do you see?
Yes.
Right? So we've gone from what do you crave to what do you see?
Yep.
And do we see the depth of God's redeeming story? Do we see that Jesus is this living stone? Or he uses the phrase, he's become a stumbling block. And I think we've all seen the Jesus as a stumbling block play out in our life, right? You start talking to people about Jesus, and sometimes people go, the people that see him as a living stone, their eyes light up and like, yeah. The people that don't see him that way, they like, don't talk to me about Jesus.
They scoff. They
And
get angry.
Yeah, and we were talking to people that I was talking to an individual that spent some time in different settings. He says, yeah, it really became clear to me how there are people that are actually not just, hey, I don't believe that, but actually scoff, that actually, talk disparagingly about Christianity and about anybody that would be a Christian.
Right.
Which is really weird.
Yeah.
Right? Like, why? What makes you so mad?
Yeah. It's we know the conviction of their heart is telling them, I don't like this, and I don't like that I don't like this, and that makes me angry.
Right, because they focus on, well, Christians tell me I'm a sinner. No, Christians tell everyone we're a sinner. Like we just talked about original sin. This isn't something that anybody can escape. But here's the thing. Christianity says there's a solution to that.
Yeah.
And they don't look at the solution. They're just mad that they're being called out for
Right.
who they really are, right?
Right.
And so they scoff, and it becomes a stumbling block rather than a stone that produces life.
Yeah, a hardness of heart is produced instead of the humility and softening of the heart that produces change. Yeah.
And then he goes into, because of that, if you see Christ as a living stone, understand, like we said, you're being built up. You're going to be a house, a temple,
Yeah.
a spiritual house. You are a royal priesthood. I love that he uses the word royal, because it's linking back to even what Jesus says when he's teaching his disciples how to pray. Start with our Father, but our Father's the King, the King of Kings. If our Father's the King of Kings, what does that make us? That makes us royalty, princes and princesses, right?
Absolutely.
Not just the Disney prince and princess kind of idea,
Right.
but actual real royalty. And from that, we have authority. We have authority over Satan. We have authority over sin. Those things, malice and deceit and envy, the only way we can put those away is because we are royalty, and that gives us authority and the power to put those away.
That's right. Yeah. Psalm 145. I will extol you, my God and King, right? Every day I will bless you. Great is the Lord and greatly to be praised. And one generation commends or shares your works to another. And that's what we're doing here in this podcast. That's what we're doing on Sunday morning. That's what we're telling our people to do, is go out and proclaim his excellencies,
Right.
our King.
Yeah, which is what we do. So if you see Christ as a living stone, not a stumbling block,
Yeah.
you see yourself as a royal priesthood, a chosen people.
Yep.
Now go proclaim.
Exactly. And that's what we're told to do in this section of 1 Peter 2. It says, as you are being built up as a spiritual house, to be a holy priesthood. Those are the people that are proclaiming, sharing. And then it says to offer spiritual sacrifices. That's what God is always searching for. It says in John 4:23, the Father is seeking people to worship him in spirit and in truth. He is the Father seeks true worshipers, right? In spirit and in truth, to offer spiritual sacrifices, like Romans 12, a living sacrifice. This is worship. Worship with your mind, worship with your lips, worship with your behavior, worship with songs, adoration, praise. That's what we're called to do, is to worship, to proclaim his excellencies. That's what you do. What do we
what you
do?
do.
That's what, yeah.
That's what you do.
Yeah.
So when people are like, well, what's the meaning of life? It's honestly, it's not that hard to figure out. No, it's hard to live into,
Yeah.
but it's not that hard to. It's not like there's some mystery out there that like we have to uncover. No, here's the secret of life. Here's the purpose of life. Ready? To view ourselves, to see Jesus as living stones, as a living stone, to see ourselves as his chosen people, his royal priesthood, for the purpose of proclaiming his excellencies and proclaiming his kingdom. Enough said. Well, I don't want to do that. Okay, that's a different conversation, because now you're not craving that which brings life. You're craving that which brings death.
Yep. So we're going to look into this coming Sunday on how to stand when to be ready to stand against, well, the adversary, the devil, who's prowling around like a roaring lion looking for whom he may devour, right?
Yay!
Right, exactly. Do you want to give us a little heads up on I don't know, what we might look forward to with that?
Yeah, it's going to be, as Peter closes out his first letter, it's going to be that. Now that we're rooted in community, now we're ready to stand. And we're going to look at the relationship between how the community around us equips us to stand against that roaring lion. How we're able to interact with all of the stuff that's against us and not be derailed. And so, yeah, that's what we're going to look at this Sunday.
Looking forward to it. The community being like the flock with our God as our shepherd, and even pastors being put into place to shepherd the flock. And, well, each of us actually shepherding the flock that has been given to us.
Pastors and elders and different leaders.
Yeah.
A community. We have to be rooted in a community, because, again, if you're in a community, you're going to kind of take on the identity of that community, and then that's going to propel you to do and be who God created you to be.
That's right. So we'll be looking forward to seeing you guys Sunday morning, 10 o'clock in the morning at the Little Red Schoolhouse. That's our current temporary location. And some interesting, actually, there's an annual meeting coming up at the end of, is it June? This month?
Yeah.
So with some building updates and some interesting things.
And there's a big announcement this Sunday.
That's right.
Major announcement.
That's
You'll
actually
not want to
true.
miss it. This isn't hyperbole.
Right.
Major announcement.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing you guys there. I'll be in New York, actually, this coming Sunday.
So the major announcement is not that Andy's going to be in Buffalo.
No, that's not the announcement. There is a major announcement, so guys, make sure you're there, 10
This
o'clock
is your
in the
family
morning.
Christmas, isn't it? Aren't you finally doing Christmas?
Actually, that's pretty true. Yeah, Christmas in June. It's going to be good.
Hey, the weather in Buffalo is way better in June than in December, I think.
100%. Yep. Yeah. Well, thanks for tuning in, guys. If you like this podcast, if you want to share it, please feel free to do so. There's a QR code that's about to pop up as soon as I click onto the next area of this episode. So feel free to send in your questions. In fact, later on in the summer, we're doing a Just Ask sermon series where you guys will be able to ask your questions and have Jeff answer them during his Sunday sermons.
Hey.
Or address them, I should say.
Or not.
Sure, who knows? But send in your questions, your comments, your concerns, all that stuff. We would love to hear from you. And with that being said, enjoy the rest of your Thursday.
Have a fantastic day.